Rock and roll Chicago, rock and roll Chicago, my hometown. Well, I was born in the city, gonna rock the city, Chicago. Chicago rock and rollers are the best year around.
Hey, this is Paul Martin
And Ray the Roadie.
for the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast. How you doing today, Ray?
I'm doing dandy. How you been, Paul?
I've been doing pretty good.
That's great. What do we got going on this week?
This week, we've got a lot of cold weather is what we've got.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm not happy with this. I should be in Cancun.
Oh, well, did you go down there for that podcast convention?
No. I checked with our finance department, and the moths said no.
yes, they did. They fluttered and said it died right
That's
there.
Right. They just fluttered away.
And that's your indication that they say no.
That's
okay.
right. So yeah, no Cancun right now. Maybe Florida later on this winter.
Well, I tell you, this week we are going to talk to Gregg Potter. Gregg Potter, great animated drummer, and now plays with the Buddy Rich Band.
Wow, he's been with them for quite some time now. Him and Kathy Rich.
Yes, Kathy Rich. I don't know the relationship, but we'll find out, I guess.
I guess we will.
And as a matter of fact, Greg and I go way back in the days, but we'll talk about that, I'm sure, with him.
All right, sounds good.
Let's get to it and talk to Gregg Potter right now.
Here he is.
Hey, this is Paul Martin
And Ray the Roadie.
for the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast.
Sitting down with us today is the legendary Gregg Potter. How's it going, Greg?
That's the kind of introduction I was hoping for. When you use a word like that, I'm ready to go now.
Now
Just in
you're
case
ready
you
to
would have said
go.
like, oh God, we ended up in a conference room somewhere
in the basement we just ran
exactly
into,
in a stuffy suburb. Oh, I see. Potter's there. Is he getting his hair done?
It's a nice building, though.
How about it? And I told you guys I was a doctor, right? Because
You did.
my practice is right down here. You can see how.
I'm sorry, Dr. Potter.
Dr. Potter. Legendary thing. Forget it. You've already set the bar. The doctor's cool.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in music, and I mean I know you're doing the Buddy Rich thing with Kathy, and which is I'm sure is working out great for you.
Oh God! How could that be going wrong? Oh, isn't your life just beautiful? Tell us about the Jets and let's talk about the real stuff first.
Okay.
Because when you called me,
Yes.
or you contacted me,
Right.
how do we say it nowadays? You say someone called. My God, you mean you didn't text him?
Yeah.
No, I actually talked on the phone with Paul. Now, I've known this guy. Have I known the partner? Have I known him like from the
Ray?
from the days?
We've met before a long time
We've met.
ago.
I mean, I'm not being rude. I'm just saying, like, because I'm going to say, or I'm going to. I talked a little bit to Paul about this, but actually, Paul and the M&R Rush juggernaut.
Okay.
They actually play a big part in the Gregg Potter, like the story.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because you said like, how'd you get your start? Well, yeah,
Coming to a theater near you.
right, which will be a film.
Yes.
As soon as we finish that Buddy Rich movie, Buddy Rich comes first. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
The man is done. But we'll get into that later. We have 4 hours to. Let me make it quick. But let me first give the props to them. M&R Rush. I mean, you know the story, but early on, like I have, not had, but older brother, and I was right out of high school, and in a band called The Groove.
Okay.
Because you said it's old Chicago stuff, so if we're talking about old Chicago band, someone might have seen us.
That's right.
In a band called The Groove, and I figured out, I think I had said, because this is a Chicago story, so when I drop Chicago names, you go, we have talked to them already. Mark Dawson was in a band called Dreamer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that was a big, when you're in high school and you hear about these clubs, and actually back in the day, early 80, early 1980, 79, 80, whatever, nightclubs were true breeding grounds you would see Cheap Trick.
Oh, sure.
Styx. M&R Rush, REO Speedwagon.
On a Tuesday night or something, too.
Yes.
7 nights a week, you'd be able to go to...
Right. But I'm saying, so as a young kid right out of high school, me, you would hear stories, because I had an older brother who went to, and back then I think you only had to be 19 or so to the Illinois drinking law.
Right.
Then you would go up to Wisconsin, it was only, I think you had to be 11 or 11 or 12 you could drink. Go down to Arkansas, you could be 6.
Yeah. Breathing.
Just bring bring the infants in. We got Van Halen and Kiss are playing on a Wednesday. Whatever. So my brother would come home, he's a couple of years older than me, come home on whatever nights and tell me about these bands. Yeah. I'm seeing these bands at a club.
Yeah.
As you got older, holy cow, it's just a bar with a stage, but it was a club and you saw the whatever.
Yeah, the atmosphere is a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a thing. Whereas you explain that to young people today, all they say is, well, do you have a video on YouTube? I've got 4 million views. I threw up in the bathroom of a Taco Bell. And actually... I've gone viral. I had a virus at the Taco Bell, and I was throwing up, but my friend filmed it, and I actually got a 4-picture deal with Paramount. And actually, Potter wants to play me in the film. But this was back in the day when you did this thing called work to find your way. So my brother would tell me these stories about these clubs, and he would see bands. Whatever. So Mark Dawson at that time is in a band called Dreamer. And M&R Rush, Dreamer.
Right.
You guys are playing. You're playing the circuit in these joints. So my brother had seen you guys.
Playing 3, 4,
but I'm
5
saying
nights a week.
Right. I'm just saying Dawson now was our through my brother and the older guys, because we were already in a band, playing in the basement. But your next step, other than playing youth centers and the high school gym, you wanted to get into these clubs, but you had to be 19 or 20. I'm 16. I'm a younger version of what you see here. How many names am I supposed to drop in this story?
However many you want.
As many as you want.
All right, guys. Because of all the clean living, because there are really no drugs or anything involved in me for all the. I remember, there's no I had a cloudy. I remember everybody. Guy's name was Dan Kavanaugh.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay,
yeah, Kavanaugh.
So Mark Dawson says, I got this young band. It was more so my brother. I wasn't quite the. I overplayed and made sure I had a drum. The bass player, Glenn Potter, bass player. Okay. Phil Dorner on keyboards and singing, and a kid named Danny Sabo.
Okay.
Remember Lee Popa? Does that name
sure,
ring?
yeah.
Okay, so it was Lee Popa was always around us too, but he didn't play. But he worked with Dreamer, and Danny Sabo was one of his buddies, all from the Lions,
sure.
Berwyn.
Lee Popa mixed M&R Rush for quite a while.
Exactly. So I'm saying all these people were all influential in getting Potter out of that high school gymnasium and into. Actually, no. This is where the magic happened. So Dan Kavanaugh goes, other than booking Dreamer, I book M&R Rush, and you guys were basically the Van Halen of gigging. Say if Dreamer played 10 gigs a week, M&R Rush did 35 gigs a week, and you guys were still getting more. You guys would play in the afternoon, then at night. Then go home and write more songs, and then we're doing 4 more gigs tomorrow, whatever. So Kavanaugh's like, if you guys want to play M&R Rush, Dan Kavanaugh gets the groove. A young Potter. Imagine me at 16. I'm pretty. Yeah. At whatever age I am now, I look like I'm.
How long were you playing drums at that point?
Oh, at that, I'm one of those guys that played the drums ever since.
Yeah, you were coming out of the womb.
Yeah, I had uncles and my uncle, my mom's brothers. Family members, because my family isn't when we get to the Kathy Rich portion of my story. When you hear her tell stories, it's I could see how that happened. You know what I mean? But for me, my dad's selling car parts. You know what I mean? And Kathy comes from music, Bell's background. When she talks about music, it's going to be a little bit different than me. But me, I was I was one of those guys, uncles, cousins, had drum sets in their basement. And what kid doesn't? You always put the kid behind the drums and you watch them. Right. Well, I happen to be one of those kids that sat down and they went, whoa, looks like this guy might have a little bit of, I had
a little rhythm, huh?
Yeah, a rhythmic, and I took to it. Yeah. So then I would say 4, 5, 6, a little guy, and then I would continue and play. My parents saw it. I always think I had very supportive parents, supporting the arts and supporting, had drums. I didn't get I had the drum set from Sears, which is where everyone starts.
Oh, sure.
See, for the young listeners, they don't even know what a Sears is anymore.
No.
Sears was like
a catalog, too?
Actually got it from the catalog store.
Oh, yeah.
On Archer Avenue by Midway Airport.
Right.
They used to have the Sears outlet where you would go where all the stuff that people had returned. I got the full Sears drum set that you would have seen in the catalog for $299. The whole drum set, $35.
Nice.
They never delivered me a floor tom.
Oh.
They told me somewhere my parents got ripped off. For $35, I think we made all right.
Yeah.
But they paid for a floor tom. A blue sparkle floor tom never showed up. So at some point when they do the movie and they're redoing it, if you see that there's a blue floor tom in the movie as me as a youngster, false. Yeah. I'm telling you right now.
It's fake news.
Fake news. Nothing wrong with that. I was making drumming great again back then. So I ended up with the red floor tom to go with the red hat. So, but yeah, so I had this. So, and that would be out throughout my, young years.
So Dan Cavanaugh.
Because remember, I'll spin this thing. Dude, this will be, you kind of will hope or wish I did do drugs so he could settle me down. So you got Cavanaugh getting this band.
Put a quarter in this guy. You put a quarter in this guy?
Well, you realize I am in a hurry. Kathy's probably got 4 pairs of shoes already ordered that I've got to go pick up for. So through Cavanaugh, we start this band with me in it, my brother and the guys we just talked about, and Lee Popa doing sound for us and driving his. Someone had a van, whatever, gets us out, and we get out with. We played a couple shows with Dreamer, Southside clubs, and then we played Gordon Tech High School with the M&R Rush.
Yeah.
Now, you guys didn't open up. What tune did you? Not you didn't open up with "Reach for the Stars," but I remember the second tune. "You're the Only Woman."
Yeah, we still do it.
So, like I was saying,
yeah.
But what did you guys open with?
Well, we probably we opened with quite a few different things, but we probably opened with a Queen tune. Now I'm here.
No, it was an original. Whatever, but so then "You're the Only Woman," whatever, I remember that. But I'm at Gordon Tech High School with this band called The Groove, and Roman is working.
Work for us.
I don't know if he was. Yeah, he was like at that point he would have been. I think he would have still been. What was it? Cartoon Teenage Radiation or whatever.
Yeah.
Roman was there.
Yeah.
Playing with Steve Dahl, approaches me at that gig and said,
Yeah.
And at that point, I really didn't.
After you played,
the Groove played first.
Yeah.
M&R Rush came on. I heard those songs because we continued playing with you guys for a while, and then I throughout that. This would have been in March of 1980. So, we played with you, but the Steve Dahl thing happened through me being with M&R Rush, because I would not have, I don't know if I would have met Roman.
Right.
And he saw me at Gordon Tech High School, which is way on the north side of Chicago. So what are you Southsiders doing on the north side?
We used to play all over.
You played, like I said, you were the Van Halen of, you guys toured you played everywhere. But Roman saw me there, and basically I think it was a Friday night, and then I played the next Friday at a Steve Dahl breakfast club at the Carnegie Theater. So the gig happened. It wasn't a long drawn out process. Roman called me and, hey, we need a drummer.
Yeah.
They had some guy they had Jeff Brown. He was the drum teacher at that music store in Lansing, the Music Lab.
Oh, right.
So I dropped names.
Yeah, okay. But
I'm just saying, and then God rest his soul, I believe Mike Powers was the bass player at that time.
Right.
Who then went on to work for Gibson or Mike Powers Guitars.
Right. Well, he worked for PV and then he worked for Gibson, I know.
Right. But so it was Mike Powers on bass, Don Melton on keyboards, Roman on guitar, and then I played. I was, Teenage Radiation early on. The first one I recorded was Another Kid in the Crawl.
Hey, Daisy, leave those kids alone.
So Gacy would have still been pretty high in the news, but so that would have gotten me from the high school to with Steve Dahl, and then after Steve Dahl, forget about it. That stuff that exploded for me. I went from Dahl. Where do we want to go?
You played with Teenage Radio
from 1980 through 86 till Dahl finally.
Yeah. He finally wrapped it up.
I went direct. I went from high school to being on the radio and doing some pretty cool things. So to me, all of us did. That was a pretty cool gig, and
yeah.
I don't know how deep we want to get into that, but I just wanted to get into that. M&R Rush we're there in the beginning. Like if I had that gig now, I'd have a different perspective. But I was I was right out. I graduated from high school. I was double promoted, so I got out young.
Yeah.
And I started at Roosevelt University, Chicago Music College.
Okay.
At Roosevelt University downtown. So I'm already going to college, studying music. So to go, I'm studying, with the head percussion professor from the Chicago Symphony, and I tell him I'm playing with Steve Dahl at,
They look at you like,
we were playing wonderful gig. I didn't say we're getting paid. I said we're playing these. So going back now and talking to these percussion instructors in school and stuff. How did you get that gig? My time with that was the recording sessions. We recorded at all the best studios.
Right.
CRC downtown on Michigan Avenue. And then you would record the song on a Wednesday night, and Dahl's playing it on the radio Thursday morning. Stuff that nowadays I don't know that would ever happen, or if it would happen, who would hear you now? Because we were joking about.
Well, back in the day, AM radio was a big thing. We recently interviewed the Crying Shames, and they said they recorded something and left the studio and heard it 20 minutes later playing on WLS. Just that, but it was the same idea that you're talking about.
Yeah.
The next morning you heard it on the radio with Dahl.
But I'm saying that also back at that time, when you were on the radio, it meant something.
Oh, yeah.
Nowadays, we have these things. I'm also involved in the rock and roll fantasy camps. Have you ever heard of those?
Sure.
It's where people with extra money, because they're quite expensive, but they give you what you want. And that same deal with VIP packages. Think about it when we were younger. What you would have to have your girlfriend do to get you backstage. I meant that in a nice way because this might be a kid's show. But I'm just saying, nowadays, if you can pay for it, you could meet Gene Simmons.
Right.
You could pay him enough. He'll come to your house and deliver some kind of vault filled with unreleased Kiss material. I think it's like 50
Kiss
G's.
condoms or something.
But think about it. So, yes, you're right. It's good to be rich or something. Or it's good to be king or something. But I'm just saying, when we were doing this stuff, or my time with Teenage Radiation, early 80s, you didn't have all that. So when you recorded something and you heard yourself on the radio, and basically what was Dahl's listening audience, and he was, remember, this would be before Howard Stern. This would be before.
He was the guy. Right.
Dahl was the guy. Dahl is. That's another thing that.
In the Loop at that time.
He's at the Loop, right? Wasn't AM? That was the top station.
In the country, I think.
Right, because you do look well. Say when I talk to Kathy, who's not a Chicago person, Midwest person, from LA, from New York. You talk about Steve Dahl to her. Her reference point. Well, then again, she doesn't even know when I mention these great Chicago bands how that's the greatness of a Chicago. But unfortunately, you are kind of nestled away in the center of the country. And yes, New York is hot, LA is hot, and we knew about the Knack in New York, but did we know about Pezban here in Chicago?
No.
LA or New York gave you Blondie. Did we know about Off Broadway?
Although great bands. Yeah.
Although great bands made records and stuff, but I'm just saying it was just.
But they know Disco Demolition.
There you go. So they know Disco Demolition, and they might even know the parody songs. Dahl did.
Oh yeah, he had the medium too to put him out there.
Yes, he did. His Perfect Storm was his Perfect Storm. So I'm saying, for me to be plucked out of a suburban high school and sat down on a drum throne. Yes, I had already won the Slingerland Louis Belson National Drum Contest. So I knew how to play I didn't know how to play the drums and blah blah. But to go from just. Well, like I said, I haven't said it yet, but when I did win that drum contest, I was it would be the year before Steve Dahl, and all the Slingerland Drum Company executives are there, and
Where was that at?
I ended up winning I won first at Frank's Drum Shop downtown, and then the regionals. I didn't win the whole event. The whole event, someone else won it, but. We see who the winner is.
Can't win them all.
Exactly. I said, I'll tell you that story's even funnier when I tell you about winning it. Whatever. So that's Frank's Drum Shop down on Wabash, where they had it. Slingerland Drum Company was right in Niles, Illinois. Right. But when I won in when I went to the regionals, which were held at what's the college in Palatine, Harper College in Palatine. Yeah. All the executives are there. The president of Slingerland, the marketing people, and they're like, kid, you're pretty good. You got some stuff going on here. Yeah. When something happens for you, we're going to be here for you.
Yeah.
And you're a kid. Yeah, I know. Are we going to eat now? I still get the sticks, right? Yeah, Mr. Potter, you get the pair of Slingerland, and you could meet Louis Belson.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that is a pretty good story. But whatever, that would have been June of 79. The Doll thing goes on in March of 80.
Right. Okay.
So I get a phone call from the head of, God rest his soul, Rick Piccolo was his name. He was the head of Big Steve Dahl fan. He goes, hey, are you the same Gregg Potter, Steve Dahl, talking about on the radio? What do you want?
And he was from Slingerland.
He was a big head of engineering marketing at Slingerland Drum Company in Niles. So now you've not only taken the kid out of the high school, but now basically the man's on the phone going, yeah, you're the same guy. Yeah. That's me, man. Why? What do you want? What we got to make you something, and that's how they came up with that Teenage Radiation drum set, the big black and yellow. Do you remember? I had the big double bass because Dahl was like, well, seeing that you're only 4 feet tall, let's get you the I was telling Dahl, Slingerland wants to make us something. Well, and I came up with the concept of, if you've ever seen the Godzilla movies, in the first Godzilla movie, they're pushing drums of radioactive material off the back of a boat. The movie was in black and white, but from what it looked like, they were probably yellow. You had the radiation symbol, and then they were yellow with a black stripe on it. Yeah. So that's the concept of where I came up with the black and then. The Slingerland guys.
I just thought those were the same Sears drums.
No. Sears drums, that story's another one. The Sears drums have been put away. They're in storage. You can see them. Oh, God, yes.
And you still have the Teenage Radiation drums?
Everything.
Yeah, good.
That's like nowadays, see, now that it's later, I think that's called hoarding.
Well, no.
And then we're going to get this reunion together. They're going to.
Oh God!
Only if they're piled in your kitchen or something, it's called hoarding.
Well, I have a storage space that I could be paying. I could be paying. Could be paying a payment on a Bentley. Yeah. Instead, I'm keeping all. But yes, I have because you remember I had the yellow and black Teenage Radiation kit. Then for the television shows, Slingerland they were making the black drums with the gold hardware. So black and yellow with the clock in the bass drum for the television show. Remember it's too early? That Slingerland didn't do the clock in the bass drum. That was done by, I think Ken Heineman came up with that concept because they needed to shoot because it was a morning television show. They needed to to tell people what time is because it's whatever. But they put the clock on the bass drum. I still have the bass drum on the
people
clock.
People knew when to leave for work, right?
Is that what it is? But so the Slingerland thing happened. So my time with those gigs,
and you're still sponsored by Slingerland.
No, unfortunately, Slingerland went the way of Teenage Radiation. Slingerland's no longer. I'm now a Ludwig guy. Because Buddy Rich played Slingerland back in the day. Buddy played Slingerland through the 70s, but then he was a Ludwig guy, 77 through 85. He passed away in 87. But so Ludwig makes me like replica drum sets of like what Buddy played.
Right.
That's as close as we're going to get to real. Well, Potter's drums look like him because it's not like I'm playing like Buddy or I look like Buddy or even smell like Buddy. Although I do try to spray like the actual cologne the man wore. Because Kathy's like a treasure trove of. I go to Kathy's mom's house. I'd go to the house in Palm Springs and I'd put on Buddy's like robe, Buddy's clothes. I'd walk about like Norman Bates, but he would wear his mother's clothes. But Potter. Go to the third person when I go into the nutty stuff. Yeah. But I'd put on Buddy's robe, and Kathy's mom would say, like, what is he doing? And I'd say, what coffee mug did Buddy use? Because that's another thing. You go, like, to Buddy's, like, go to her mom's house.
We'll take all the stalker stuff out. We'll edit that out.
Well, the mom knows it. Right? But, I mean, you go to their house, you don't even know that that's, like, Buddy Rich's house. Like I was thinking, like you'd go into there'd be drums in that room, and
no.
There's like one picture on the wall of like Buddy and his, Buddy and would be Kathy's mom. Yeah. Like one picture of him. Kathy said, "Well, that's at the Forum in L.A. or somewhere." Like when he was playing with Frank Sinatra. So, but I mean, no drums. It's like just a picture of Buddy in a great tuxedo and Kathy's mom's all from like 1981 or 2 or something. But no drums in the house. No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you go to, I don't know, you go to...
Well, yeah, but
wouldn't all that...
Yeah, I mean, you go to my house, you don't find guitars lined up in...
Oh, you don't? Like, there's not like if, like, I don't know, your kids
I
came...
got a little room in the basement that, I keep all my stuff,
Still, I'm talking, you go to Buddy's, or, the house that was in Palm Springs, there was nothing.
Yeah.
But Kathy will even say, first of all, when Buddy was alive, Kathy said, when my dad came home, you didn't know he was Buddy Rich either. He didn't come home and, well, didn't he practice on the pad? No. Kathy had to look at him.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He worked 320 days. He was like he was the M&R Rush of drumming. This guy played like Kathy's. You'll see schedules. We stuff around the house that I see like the man's schedule. Because back then the schedule was written like that.
Yeah.
No computer printouts. You know what I mean? It was like the man. Someone wrote these things, and you would see a schedule of Buddy one-nighters on that bus or flying. Just
everywhere.
A month of August, like 1983, August of 83. Buddy did like in the month of August 27 dates.
Wow.
So I mean that means I'm playing, be it high school or be it because the guy would play like a command performance for the Queen at the London Palladium, get on an airplane, land in New York, get on a bus and drive to Nebraska and play a high school.
Right.
I mean, Kathy said the man works. His work ethic is something to be. But getting back to, so I was wearing Buddy's clothes, walking around the house, and the mom says, "Would you please tell Greg to stop?" So that's what happened. But
but now you're sponsored by Ludwig.
By Ludwig. So I'm a Ludwig guy, and I have fake Buddy Rich drums. Yeah. And there's also a company right here in Chicago called Trick. Trick Drum Company makes a Buddy Rich snare drum.
Oh, really?
So you can get. It's a replica in that. Because something that you find, like because people are into this vintage stuff, vintage. Right. I want stuff from, well, you being a musician or you're a musician, like a '64 Corvette doesn't drive like a 2019 Corvette.
Right.
So same with these drums, guitars. You get an old something. It's a great piece to look at, and it probably costs more than the car you're driving to have this Les Paul or this drum set. But to take the thing out and play, odds are it's not going to play and feel. So what we're doing with this Trick Buddy Rich Centennial snare drum, because Buddy was 100 years old, 2017. So it's something you can play today.
Oh, okay.
Drives like a new car, but looks like a vintage piece of gear. So that, and same with the Ludwig drums.
Technology is substantial.
Like the drums, because I've played on, there were real Buddy Rich drums around the house. But first of all, you don't want to take those out and touch them. But I'm saying, the drums are a vintage drum doesn't feel like what they do. The drums today are the Ludwig stuff is absolutely wonderful. And then this Trick drum, and I don't know how deep into my equipment, but
Who's your cymbal company?
I'm a Sabian guy.
Sabian,
So, yes, Buddy never played Sabian. He was always a Zildjian guy, but I've been with Sabian remember, I had a career prior to this Buddy Rich thing. Those people have been with me. Sabian has been with me, or I've been with them. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just, I've got to do everything that Buddy did. It's not that. We are true to you want to be respectful of it. But I wasn't going to jump from a cymbal company that's been with me for almost 15, 20 years. I've been with Sabian. Now that I finally get a decent... So, they too... And Zildjian and Sabian, I don't know how music geek we want to get into it, but they are very closely related.
Yeah.
Actually, it is the same family.
Oh, okay.
The Zildjian brothers split up, and
I see.
One took the family recipe here, and one went there. So I'm saying when you play a Sabian, they're not the same, but they're similar. Cymbals are made in different weights inside. Yeah. So I'm saying they made me like what Buddy would have played. Yeah. Like I said, we try to be true to that, because once I sit down and play, you go, oh my God, where's Buddy when you need him? this guy's got all the equipment. But
now, speaking of going back and being with Sabian for a while, let's talk about what you did play, or who you did play with after teenage. And you were a band called Siren?
Yes. So the Siren thing came out. That would have been... Well, there's more references, or more, drop more names. At the end of Teenage Radiation, you remember Johnny Skender, bass player?
Sure.
Played with Teenage Radiation. Johnny Skender and I went to high school together.
Yeah.
Same birthday.
Oh, really?
Well, I'm a year younger than Skender.
Okay.
But all August 19th. And then I don't know how much of the next, but I'll be working with someone who also has my same birthday, but I can't really get into that.
Okay.
But we'll figure it out and we'll add it as a amendment later or something. But another birthday similarity. But so Skender and I started playing with, you remember Tommy Gwenda from Pez Band?
Sure.
And there were these, Tommy,
blind guy.
We
talked about it.
Right.
Yeah.
There's Mimi, Mike Gorman, Tommy G, and Mick Rain on drums. Exactly. LA had the Knack, we had Pez Band.
Right.
So, and Kathy loved the Knack. Because she was in LA at that point. So her and Bruce Gary, and Bruce Gary, the drummer, she knew him and whatever. Yeah. But we had Pez Band.
Yeah. So, yes, we did.
So me, Skender, Tommy G start jamming, playing. Tommy G goes, "Hey, I got these 3 sisters. They sing beautiful harmonies because they're sisters in the same family.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the vocal cords are probably the same, but they did.
Like the Lennon sisters.
Like the Lennons, right. But these were the Massey sisters.
Okay.
So, Kristen, Claire, and Kath.
Okay.
3 sisters up from the north side. Tommy G, we put a group together called VVS1. This had been like late 80s.
Okay.
We do this VVS1, like a diamond.
Okay.
The one sister worked at a jewelry store downtown, so VVS1, best scale of diamond, whatever. Plot.
Okay. Right.
Whatever. But where it happens is, so you got Tommy G on guitar, Skender playing bass, me playing drums, and these 3 girls singing. So we start playing. We go do a demo tape because Tommy G was brilliant when it came to recording back in the day. We actually set the drums up. Tommy G worked for DB Sound up in Arlington Heights, whatever, big warehouse.
Yeah.
So all those stories of Zeppelin got drum sounds in a castle somewhere.
Yeah.
We got our drums in the DB warehouse.
Oh.
I mean, but it was Tommy G's brilliance using live sound technology, but then recording it. You know what I mean? So we got whatever. It was that kind of thing. But we made this demo tape. I think it had probably 8 songs on it. The 3 girls singing, us playing.
Was it all original stuff?
All original stuff. That's what I mean.
Tommy wrote, or
it was written by Tommy G, the girls.
Yeah.
I mean, I dare say I did. We did a demo tape, and no, I didn't get any writing credits, but I was there throughout it. The band splits. 2 of the sisters and Tommy G go on to form a band called The Tammy Show.
Oh, yeah, I remember them.
Me, Skender, the one sister, Kristen, who's at this point working with Dr. Robert Haas. Do you remember the author of the Eat to Win diet?
Okay.
All right. This guy is an amazing musician, along with being not a doctor, maybe he's a doctor, but a nutritionist. But he was famous for writing the Eat to Win diet book. Then he went on to write the book with Cher, Forever Fit. Whatever. This demo tape has now got the Tammy Show over here, and a group called Siren over here. Me, Skender, the health author, and Kristen Massey get Siren, get a record deal on Mercury.
He was a guitar player.
He was a guitar player. Played like Van Halen or Yngwie. Real intricate, beautiful, and again, or not again, but he's a recording whiz, like a Tommy G, but more of like a Florida health version tennis player, and Tommy G's a Chicago version. But I'm saying, but you had 2 guys so that becomes Siren on Mercury Polygram Records. Tammy Show gets a deal on Chrysalis Records, but they end up going, they get. I think Kenny Hart played drums, and not Mike Gorman, but whatever. So now you have 2 bands, 1 demo tape, the one that we recorded at DB Sound, 1 demo tape. They cut the songs in half. The ones that the one sister wrote, we took, and the ones that the other sisters wrote, they took. Yeah. They became Tammy Show. We became Siren.
Oh, okay.
So that's how Siren came about. We had the All Is Forgiven, which was a song written. If you look on the credits, Cliff Johnson gets writing credit on that. Do you remember Cliff Johnson had a band after Off-Broadway called USSA?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
That's right, yeah.
And with a guitar player named Pete Comita?
Yeah.
Okay, so the writing credits on All Is Forgiven is Cliff Johnson, Pete Comita, Robert Haas, Kristen Massey.
Time to think when you're all alone. Time to think when your eyes are closed. Time is mine if I let it go. All is forgiven.
So that band is so Chicago and got so much Chicago-age in it. So All Is Forgiven was the first single off that All Is Forgiven album, which did decent. We were on MTV, toured.
Yeah,
we did everything we were supposed to do. Tammy's show ended up, I don't know.
Didn't do all that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess at this point we could maybe battle it out on see who's got more YouTube hits or something. But I'm just saying that one demo tape.
Yeah.
After Teenage Radiation, we toured. The album came out in '89. Toured, and then as with everything else, it goes. And we had a song on the My Stepmother's an Alien soundtrack. One Good Lover, it was called. And
I was going to ask you about that. And you had a little bit of a film career, too, at the time, didn't you?
Yeah, the movies came up. I got into the movies during my Steve Dahl time, like 84, 85. I was in Lucas, and like when they were filming movies here in Chicago.
Yeah. Crazy.
Like crazy. Yeah. We had those goofy Steve Dahl television shows. Do you remember the morning show?
Sure.
Or do you remember he had the...
Where'd you do that at?
In Joliet at someone's house.
Yeah, I thought so.
But then we also had one like a cable show, whatever. I was on TV, and the casting agents here in Chicago, you were like older, but you played young. Well, that worked out for me. I was already 55 years old. I looked like I was 12. So this is excellent. Potter doesn't have any ted because I was in when I was in Lucas, it was me, Corey Haim, God rest his soul, some kid named Charlie Sheen, Jeremy Piven, Winona Ryder.
Wow.
I'm the only idiot that said, no, I'm going to be a drummer. I should have stayed in the friggin'...
Did they make it big?
I don't know. One's already dead from heroin. I mean, Charlie Sheen's still alive, but poor Corey Haim's already dead.
Well, we know Charlie Sheen's passed, yeah.
But when I knew Charlie Sheen, no. Charlie Sheen didn't even have a car. When he was doing Lucas, at that time I had the car because I was already playing. Charlie Sheen came to see us with Steve Dahl and Teenage Radiation. We were playing on Archer Avenue. Place looked like a castle. Do you remember concerts at the joint? It looked like a castle on Archer, like in Lamont or Willow Springs.
Not the Willowbrook Ballroom, but it was.
It looked like a castle.
There was a
We were doing Lucas. Charlie Sheen and they came out and hung out with us. So I'm saying, Charlie Sheen was just an up. He had not done. He got big after the Vietnam movie. You know what I'm talking about.
That's all that. Is that the one?
Apocalypse. That wasn't Apocalypse Now. But I'm saying he became a quote-unquote movie star, after that. So it went from Potter, could I borrow your car, to actually the guy that used to take, the guy from The Groove, Phil Dorner, who took care of my drums, started hanging, one time he called me from Malibu. And he's like, I'm at Charlie Sheen's house. So if you call me back, you got to use a password to get, because those movie stars back then, you would have, you'd call, didn't have cell phones back then, but you'd call them,
Platoon.
And they just picked the phone up. And if you didn't say the password, they didn't talk to you. So you would have to call. So I called my buddy at Charlie Sheen's house in Malibu. Yeah. You'd have to go pumpkin. And then when they heard the password, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on?
That's funny.
I mean, nowadays you got this thing called, caller ID or whatever. But back in the day, so then he took the guy that hung out with me and traveled with me, did the drums, set up the drums. He was hanging out with Charlie Sheen. He called me from, Charlie Sheen was a big basketball fan, so he called me from the Lakers plane.
Lakers game.
They were fly from they were going to, the Lakers were playing Philadelphia. So he's like, damn, I'm on the plane. But this was back, nowadays, I call my mom from London. I mean, I'm talking back in 85 or 6 to be on the plane or giving passwords on the phone. You're like, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, So, I did movies for a couple of years, but then actually my last film was to be Uncle Buck. And Uncle Buck, I got that role right when the Siren album was being released, and I had a problem. I was forced to, basically, the album was being released, would be February of 89, and they were filming Uncle Buck here in Chicago. I would have played the Jay Underwood. I would have been John Candy's niece's boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
And I actually, still live with my parents. I'm hanging out. I get a phone call. It's Dick Asher, the president of Polygram Records. Hey, we heard you're doing a movie. I think he's calling me to congratulate me. Because nowadays it's like, God, I'm a heroin addict. I do movies. I'm also a yoga instructor, and I've got 14 billion views on YouTube. My God, he's the star.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting a congratulatory call. He's like, is there going to be a problem with you being in LA for this video on January 13th? I said, because I had talked to the band and talked to... You also find out who your friends are, too.
Oh, yeah.
When something good's happening for you, you'll find out exactly who cares about you.
Right.
Now your friends in the band, not Skender. Skender was already gone. Yeah, Skender bowed out of Siren, and we got John Brandt, the bass player from Cheap Trick.
Oh, yeah.
So when you see the album, John Brandt, bass player from Cheap Trick's in the band. Skender had already passed. It's a different scene when you go from from the high school to Steve Dahl to now Steve Dahl into a band that's on a major. Things change. So I'm just saying, Skender. I mean, he's still my friend today. But I'm just saying we got John Brandt from Cheap Trick, and that's a whole scene. But so Dick Asher is like, there's not going to be a problem, is there, Potter? I mean, I think he referred to me as pretty boy or something. I mean, he was like, I noticed the tone of this conversation wasn't excellent.
We now have the way you thought it was going to go.
No, I thought it was going to be, my gosh, we're putting out this new band. The drummer's going to be in a movie. Yeah. Because this band isn't all about you. And like I said, I'm 20. I'm a kid. I still, and I'm young in the business. So I didn't realize. So basically, he said either you come and do you come be in the video, because I think one of the quotes was, "I got guys living in cars that want to be in your position right now." Wow. Again, things that. Yeah. Maybe if you're talking to John Bonham, or even if Jason Bonham, whose dad was the drummer in Led Zeppelin, maybe he would go, "Father, the record company," and John Bonham would go, "I was in Led Zeppelin. I did." I turned to my dad, who's working at car dealers, and he can go like, "Whatever you want to do, man. You're going to be in the movie or be on MTV." Yeah. So, I then get a phone call from. That's from the record side. Then you call your film agent. Yeah. Now they don't care about you playing a set of drums. No. They're getting money because you're going to be in a movie.
You're being a movie, right?
So they don't really care about that career either. Yeah. So they're just like, what's it?
Two opposing forces.
Yeah, but two real. We're not talking about. Well, am I going to
real careers? Right.
I'm talking career moves here, but I'm saying I'm a young guy in Chicago going like. So my film agent's like, yes or no? And then I think I actually got a call from the producer of the film, because John Hughes was directing. It was a John Hughes movie, and John Hughes knew me from Steve Dahl. Right. If you remember, John Hughes was from the North Shore, was a Steve Dahl fan. I mean, he knew about Steve Dahl, Teenage Radiation. Yeah, and he did all those movies, filmed them all here, so he knew who I was. And he's like, "Potter, I love you, but
I need an answer."
Because it's costing. Again, people bring up how much everything's costing. This is costing me. How much a day? I mean, I can't, because I was saying, could I go to LA, film the video, and come back? I already went to, they were filming the scene at the bowling alley in Cicero. I'm saying they were already into production. Whereas Siren filming a video would have come up in. And I said, is there a way I can.
So you picked Siren.
I picked Siren.
But now looking back,
Uncle Buck went on to become the highest grossing comedy of 1989. It spawned a sitcom that I passed on. That only lasted one season. My film career pretty much evaporated after that. The film people went, watch this Potter guy. If his band, because I really was a drummer too. Let's not hide the fact that in real life.
But look at Kevin Bacon and look at there's so many artists or I should say actors think they say they need a band. They have to have a band.
Yes, but I'm saying in real life, when you do know me and you knew me when I was I really did know how to play the drums. It wasn't a matter of because John Stamos plays the drums too. Yeah, God bless you, John. Yeah, but I'm just saying. Right. I think he was better on television. Right. I don't know if they would give him a Buddy Rich gig.
Your career is playing the drums. His career is acting.
Yes, I'm just going to say that in a nice way, but I'm saying yes. I made the decision at that point to stick with this band, who, like I said, was on Mercury Polygram. We had a big manager, big record company, and from all that I was being told what was happening with the record, it was going good.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to, we were doing good. Back in those days, you had the machine was working for you.
Yeah.
We were getting added to radio stations. This was back when there was this thing called radio.
Yeah.
We were already getting added before the record. So the record people are telling me, Potter, in 6 months,
right,
we'll do a movie on you.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like, don't worry about that. Movie people are like, hey, I don't care what you're doing with those drums.
Yeah.
It's costing me money. And by the way, I'm John Hughes. So me and Molly Ringwald said, either join us or move on because we're moving on. They moved on. I went to Siren, and we lasted the year. I mean, we had an interesting thing happen that name of the band was Siren. As soon as you get on MTV and you start selling records and you become popular, other people come around and say, well, I'm in a band called Siren.
Oh, yeah.
We got sued by 3 bands.
Oh, yeah.
3 people came to us. Now, back in the 80s, I guess I don't really understand. I'm not a lawyer. But from what I understood, back in the 80s, because the best way they could help, not everyone in those days had millions of dollars or something, or thousands of dollars to have lawyers. If you could prove that you had the name prior...
Yeah.
Because that's what, like, there was a woman in Fort Lauderdale or something who called herself Siren and was able to show that she performed as Siren in 1977 or something. So pay the woman to keep. And I would think, too, wouldn't a big record company that, like, when you went into their office in New York, like we were in New York, when you went into the office, there was, like, a big mural on the wall, and there was Bon Jovi, John Cougar, the Scorpions, Potter, Cinderella. Like, don't you think they had some legal people that would find out which name has not been taken?
Right.
Whatever. Banned in Europe, banned in Canada, and some woman in Florida, whatever. We got sued 3 ways. Record company goes, well, we'll give you blank amount of money. You split it up however you want. Give but pay these people off.
Oh, okay.
Or change your name. Well, as it worked out, because there's another story like that I've heard. The band Skid Row. Do you think there was any bands in that era named Skid Row? Whatever. Their record company paid, and they kept the name Skid Row.
Well, how about Cinderella? Doesn't Disney own that?
Like I said, from now with legalese or what I saw happen in the OJ trial, I'm sure you can find something somewhere to make something work.
Yeah.
I'm just saying how it worked out for me was that basically in the middle, the album came out as Siren, All Is Forgiven. By our second single, when we were on the soundtrack of My Stepmother's an Alien with Kim Basinger and Dan Aykroyd,
right.
Our name had changed to Red Siren. I could explain it to you, and you go, I understand that. Well, that's the same album. Well, the public didn't take to it.
Sure.
We'd actually go to radio stations. Yeah, we just had Siren here last week.
Yeah.
That was us, man.
Yeah.
Well, now Red Siren. Well, what's that all about? You didn't have the internet where you could go like, my God, we're changing our name.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is.
I mean, nowadays, we're changing our gender.
Yeah.
And it works, you know what I mean? Like, we accept it now. I don't know how I was able to equate changing the name of Siren to changing genders.
I get it.
But I'm saying you can get it out to the public. We had what did you have? There was maybe a small blip in the trade papers, like R&R was that radio. I think maybe
page or something.
Right, or Billboard magazine had a little piece. Siren.
Now it's now Red Siren.
Red Siren. Well,
Thank you very much.
Stuff stopped for us. I mean, just like the radio ads. The second song was decent. Whatever, but you know what I mean. It'd be like, I don't know, in the middle of the World Series, you go from being this team to you're the same team, but we've changed your name and uniforms. People are like, wait a second, I was just watching the Yankees. Now you're called the whatever. Okay. So that band just
that was maybe 90, 91 or something.
89, 90. Yep.
Now what'd you do then or when did you start the Buddy Rich thing?
Oh, the Buddy Rich thing happened way after. I had to live through the 90s and what would have been the grunge era. Okay. And I don't know if you could tell by my hair and dental work. I was that was a whole era that was pretty tough on me. I mean, I played in bands that were
locally here.
Yeah, the band called Green.
Okay.
Jeff Lesher, Clay Tomasek, like alternative type, through the 90s. Then I was in a band called Super Mercado with Matt Mercado. He had a deal on Mercury Polygram with a band called Mind Bomb.
Okay.
So I'm saying I played heavy. I played like heavy through the 90s.
So that was Gregg Potter, the early years.
The early years. Well, here's our little surprise, everybody. We're giving you 2 parts of Gregg Potter. That's right. You just listened to part 1. You got to come back next week to listen to part 2, the Buddy Rich years.
That's right. We talked to Gregg for over an hour and a half, probably close to 2 hours. So we decided to put it in 2 parts.
And you'll be able to get that second part next Tuesday. Don't forget to download it using your favorite app. Go to our website, go to our Facebook page, and remember to listen to us on the Road to Rock Radio every Monday at 6 o'clock. They're featuring one of our podcasts, so make sure you tune in on Monday night to hear our podcast, and tune in all the time for some great Illinois rock and roll music, rock and roll, blues, any kind of Illinois music. You'll find it on roadtorockradio.net.
I guess I'll have to do 2 parts in this as well, won't they?
We
2
might.
Mondays.
We might. We just might.
On the Road to Rock Radio.
After talking with Gregg, I just can't stop chatting. I just want to keep talking.
Well, let's just relax now.
Okay.
Just relax now.
All right.
And we'll see you next time, next week for part 2.
Next week. Take it easy, everybody.
Chicago, rock and roll, Chicago.